What's up, everyone? Jeremy here with Majors Academy Dog Training out of Green Bay, Wisconsin. And sorry, we were a little late. I was hitting traffic on the way back from running some errands. But we are here. And if you've never seen this before, this is a dog training Q&A, Thirsty Thursdays, episode 17. And I'm going to drink 2 beers. And at the end of the 2 beers will be the end of the show. So during my 2 beer drinking adventure, you have the opportunity to ask questions about your dogs, ask questions about the business, ask questions and or post topics that you would like me to talk about. I think I'm gonna need a can opener, so let me be right back because one of these beers definitely needs a can opener. Be right back. Okay, I'm back. So I'll just show you the beers that we're drinking tonight. This is Madtown Nut Brown from Ale Asylum, Madison, Wisconsin. Yes, indeed. Okay, and then I've got the Holes Hacker Lager from Bull Falls, Wisconsin, in Wausau. Bam. All right, I'm gonna tackle the Madtown Nut Brown first. All right. So I hope everyone had awesome holidays. Hope Santa was good to everyone. And I hope everyone has a happy new year, first and foremost. So if anybody wants to go ahead and ask the first question, you can. Otherwise, I have a question on the page that I have to answer. But what we're going to be talking about in the video is animal behavior college. Okay, that's going to be the topic of the show. So if anybody has any experience on animal behavior college, please feel free to share. Please feel free to ask a question about it. I'm not that researched on it, but I know of many people that have gone through it. All right, so that's what we're going to talk about. But first, let's answer a question. All right. Amber Jackson says, my dogs are currently allowed on the furniture. How do I stop this and transition them off of the furniture? Great question. So what you have to do in order to get your dogs off the couch is to give them a consequence when they try to get off the couch. So you can do it 2 ways. You can teach your dog that the dog needs to go lay on its bed, which I would recommend putting a leash on to do that, so that you're not having to grab the dog every time and putting him back. So you may want to allow the leash to drag, so you can just grab it, pull the dog back to the bed. All right. Teaching the place command is definitely going to be one way of doing that. Okay. The second way would be to get some sort of deterrent from jumping on the couch, which would mean, and it also depends on if you're home or not, but you could use a spray bottle, pet convincer. You could even use, they have one of those pet safe, if you want to do it when you're not home, they have one of those pet safe things that sort of work like a electric collar, or on an electric fence. Wherever you put this thing, it sends out sort of a boundary where the dog can't go. So if you want to do it, if you want to enforce that when you're not at home, you can go to, I think Petco has them, or PetSmart has them, but they just come out, looks like a smoke alarm, but and then you put the collar on, and then you have to sort of wean them into it, but But that's good for just boundary training. It works for counter surfing. It works for not wanting to go, or not allowing the dog to go in the kitchen if you don't want that, and of course, not getting on the couch. Okay. Thank you for your question. Hey, Jeremy, love the hat. Took your advice on keeping the dogs up for our holiday. They did great. Glad to hear that. Good job. I'm glad to hear that, because it could have been a bad situation for you. So I'm very, very glad to hear that you did that. It's definitely the right choice during the holidays. So let me just expand on that a little bit. If you have your dog and you're going to have people over, for example, we're going to have people over on Friday, and my dogs are not going to be out. I may bring one, but if they are going to be out, they're going to be on leash, just because my dogs aren't used to having this big group of people in the house, and we're going to be yelling and screaming and all that. So what I told Mallory to do is to give them their exercise prior to people arriving and stuff like that, so they're nice and tired, and then just put them up and let them nap. It kind of be like putting a kid up for a nap when the party's going on. So kudos to you. That's great. That's advocating for your dogs, and that's awesome. Sometimes I miss questions, so forgive me if I missed your question at one time. I'm going to try to do a better job of scrolling up and down so I can see all the questions that I have. But if you just joined us, go ahead and if you have a question or a topic that you want to talk about, go ahead and type it. And otherwise, I'm going to get started on the topic of the video podcast, whatever you want to call it, the show. Because I was talking to a lady on the phone today, and I was pretty upfront with this person because I wanted to know what exactly you learned at ABC College. I want to know what they're teaching there. Now, anybody who has any experience with ABC College, please chime in, because I don't have any experience about it or any experience with it. I've never been there. I've heard many a thing about it. They train trainers. So Animal Behavior College trains people to become trainers. All right. But they don't do... oh, we got a question. I'm going to go ahead and answer that. And then I'll get back to the topic, because that topic's going to take forever. All right. So my dog does a low growl when he sees other dogs or people. How do I stop him from doing that? So Paige, in my opinion, why your dog is growling is because your dog is nervous about dogs or people. What you have to learn is how to be your dog's advocate in those environments, when it sees dogs and when it sees people. This may mean you have to add structure whenever the dog is around other people and or other dogs, because when you add structure, that opens up kind of opens up your dog to exploring actually what it's becoming nervous about. So, for example, when I'm introducing dogs to people, I have to be in control of the dog. The dog knows I have to be the dog's advocate, so the dog knows that I'm not putting the dog in danger. Secondly, you have to make sure the people that you are associating your dog with are knowledgeable about nervous dogs. It is not correct to go up to just any dog and pet it. Okay, so maybe start telling people to give the dog some space, ignore the dog, all that and the other. All right, and same with dogs. Don't let your dog be around unbalanced dogs. It's not very conducive to trying to get the dog to become less nervous about dogs. So a nice friendly dog would be something that I would recommend when it comes to socializing your dog. All right, so excuse me. You have to learn about how to advocate for your dog when it comes to people and dogs, but it starts with control. It starts with not allowing your dog to do whatever it wants, but allowing your dog, dictating your dog's behavior around whatever makes him nervous, again, to open up his mind and accept the things that you think should be accepted by the dog. All right. Thank you for your question. Don't worry about being late. I was late too. I was like 10 minutes late because I was driving home. I had to get some things from the store. All right. Back to ABC College. You're welcome, Paige. You're welcome. Back to ABC College. Animal Behavior College. Anybody out there who knows anything about it, please chime in. I don't know much about it. Maybe I should have done a little bit more research, but I was really being investigative with this person on the phone about what exactly she learned, because the person just acquired a dog. Well, not just, but been a while, and the dog's bit a few people. But this person's a certified trainer. She just acquired a dog, bit a few people, has 2 other dogs that are great, blah, blah, blah. But this dog is what she would call a reactive dog. And what she told me was that they did not teach the dog, or they did not teach how to deal with reactive dogs at ABC College. So somebody help me with that. Is this true? Are they not teaching dogs not teaching dog trainers how to deal with reactive dogs at Animal Behavior College? Because she certainly said she paid a lot of money for this dog education. Okay, so I then asked, because one of the problems that she expressed, we got another question. I'm going to get back to that. Hold your horses. Okay, trying to work a 3-pound Yorkie Shih Tzu. How do I get on his little level to do simple commands? Kristin, sometimes with little dogs, there are sort of special techniques to work with little dogs, because first and foremost, in my opinion, little dogs need to be worked with longer than your average sized dog. Why? Because they're so easily used to getting away with hell and high water. So the last little dog I had, I actually wish I had the dog longer, because I needed to still hammer in some good foundational work. And again, little dogs are so used to doing whatever they want that it's pretty tough. But I would get on the floor with your dog. There is a guy named Josh Moran, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, that actually has a little dog sort of seminar, online seminar. If you go to Learberg.com, I believe it's Learberg.com, you may be able to find it. I'm not sure on the cost, but there's cool techniques on how to work with little dogs. It's specific to little dogs, and Learberg has featured his sort of seminar series on what his work with little dogs. It's pretty cool. So I would check that out. All right. Thank you for your question. So, an ABC trainer contacted you about rehabilitating her dogs. That is correct, sir. I hope that's a sir. That is correct. She wanted to shadow. She inquired about shadowing with me. And I told her that how I can help you the most is by you buying some private lessons, because we need to work that dog. You know, if you come shadow with me, you know, we're going to be just working the dogs that are in for training, but the dog that you have needs training. So the best way that I can help you in the beginning is some private lessons. So anyway, so yeah, ABC College, and I was asking her questions after questions after questions, and I had to remind her that I'm just asking because I'm trying to get a feel of what they teach at Animal Behavior College. It took her 3 years to complete this curriculum. Took her 3 years, okay? So, 3 years. And one of the problems that the person spoke on was that the dog does is bark and is very territorial. And when someone pets the dog and walks away, the dog then turns around and bites the people. And so I just broke it down like this. Excuse me. Does your dog? Excuse me. Did they teach you how to teach? Did they teach you how to teach a dog recall? She said yes. Okay. So why isn't your dog able to execute the recall when it starts to bark? Why isn't... What? Okay. And here's the other thing I asked. Barking dogs. Did they not teach you how to deal with barking dogs? Yes. Then how do you still have a really barking dog? So I would even argue, isn't a barking dog a reactive dog? But they don't teach reactive dogs, right? Okay. So we got that. Isn't a barking dog a reactive dog? Certainly barking when people come over and or when people walk outside the window, or from the window when people walk outside, would that be considered reactive? Okay, so I just want to know what their goal is in Animal Behavior College. They should change the name. It shouldn't be Animal Behavior College. It should be Puppy College. If you're not teaching dogs that are fearful, reactive, barking dogs, then what are you discriminating against certain dogs? Or is it just very basic? And 3 years to learn very basic stuff? I'm appalled. I mean, what kind of organization is that? What kind of organization it takes 3 years to learn basic? And then I asked, did they teach you at least that you have to be good with people, or how to be good with clients, or how to keep them motivated? So I really take issue with dog trainers that work with dogs that only work with certain types of dogs. Or no, I don't have issue with that. What I have issue with is if you are teaching trainers how to become dog trainers, but yet refuse to work with certain dogs. And this is only specific to pet dog trainers, because I know there's trick dog trainers. I know there's trainers that are just do specific sports and all that good stuff. But I'm talking about if you're dealing with how to teach a dog sit, down, stay, come, and one of the things they did cover is how to get a dog to stop barking, then where do you draw the line? If the dog is barking, it's a reactive dog. Then the dog decides to bite. Once the dog decides to bite, is that where you draw the line? Like, is that where you say, that's we don't teach that. We don't teach a dog. We don't teach people how to manage a dog that's biting. So what do they believe? Then that people should give up on their biting dog? I'm not sure. I don't want to sound like I'm being a negative Nancy here. But again, I really take issue with people who are teaching other people how to be dog trainers and can only work or have knowledge only working with certain dogs, especially when it comes to behavior. So anyway, we got some questions. Here we go. Coleon has recently started to snap and bite at our daughter. You talking about? Okay. We figured out it is only when she's wearing her winter jacket, which is longer and has a fur hood. Eric put the jacket on and he did the same thing. Did Eric get bit when he put the jacket on? One of my dogs gets very dominant. When I try to correct her, she tries to nip at me and is overall very dominant towards my other two dogs. She listens to her commands, but if I try to grab her to move her, she tries to nip. Any way to work on her dominant behavior? Yes. So, if she's nipping while you're trying to grab her, she may just be a little bit fearful in that situation. Not so much dominant. I would question that. All right. But one way to go around that, work around the snapping while you're grabbing, is to put a leash on the dog. All right. So you're not grabbing the dog. Anytime I'm working with a dog that I don't know, I'm just going to assume that if I grab the dog's going to try and bite me because I've had it happen. So to alleviate that possibility, I take the leash. I just put the dog on leash while it's in the house, and then I put it back to its place or to its bed. All right. So that's what I would do. If the dog doesn't listen, simply just grab the leash and put her where you want. Okay. That's what I would do. And then secondly, what you have to do is start working with that dog alone. All right. So take the dog on a walk alone so that you can concentrate and build a better relationship, a more respectful relationship with the dog. All right, make sure you have the proper tools in order to obtain that specific relationship where the dog respects you enough not to attempt to bite you when you tell her no or when you try to get her to do something. Okay, so grabbing her may be too much for her. So I would go ahead and put a leash on so you can alleviate that, so you can go around trying to grab the dog. Okay, thanks for your question. Oh man, I don't speak. Hola. I feel like it's a disservice to the trainer and the person hiring that trainer. Yeah, it's a disservice, man. I really feel the same way. So I said, again, if hi Eduardo, if the college taught you how to recall your dog, did they not recall your dog when there are distractions via squirrel, via people walking by and stuff like that? And if so, what kind of real world, that's so unrealistic. Your dog needs to be tested in order to have a dog that comes to you with reliability, it needs to be in the presence of distractions. So do they not use distractions when they're teaching the recall? What are you learning there? You know what I mean? The other side of it is, no matter where you've gone, no matter what you've done, no matter how much training you have received, no matter the quality of training you have received, it's all about learning how to be consistent and learning how to be fair. Okay, because you can be a consistent jerk and you will continue to get bit. And you can be a consistent softy that gets ran over and you will continue to be manipulated and get bit. But the magic comes for when you can figure out what the dog wants and make him work for it in a productive way where it's most beneficial to you. The lifestyle is best beneficial to you and the dog. That's where the magic happens. And that some trainers or people achieve without trainers. But it's almost again, I've talked about this before, but it's almost the sacrifice that is most important. You're going to sacrifice if the dog actually likes you or not by being as consistent as possible. For example, you may sacrifice the strength of your relationship. No, this is the perceived reality for most people. Your dog is not going to like you as much if you don't let the dog on the couch. That is their perceived reality. Or the dog is not going to like you as much if you start to add structure to the dog's life. That is a lot of people's perceived reality. But sometimes dogs obviously never can ask for what they need. But it doesn't mean that they don't need it. So, all right, let me see if I got some questions. No, but he snapped at him. Okay, so it's the coat. All right, so what you have to do, if Coleon decides to snap with that jacket, he's afraid of the jacket. Just work on it then. Put your e-collar back on and have the e-collar in your hand. Walk around with that coat and demand that he stays in his place over and over again. All right, advocate for the dog while you have the coat on to help the dog realize that this coat, this thing is not something to be afraid of. All right, so give the dog a job to do. For example, my female dog was scared of windshields. And scared of windshields. Like, what? Okay, that's weird, but you shouldn't be lunging at the window, because the dog decided to lunge at the window when the windshield wipers went on. And so we had to teach the dog to lay down while the windshield wipers were on in order to get over the fear of whatever the windshield wipers brought to her. So same thing with you. There's tons of dogs that are scared of the lawnmower, the snow machine, or the snowblower, any vacuum, all of that. And that can be alleviated by giving the dog a job to do, making sure the dog does what you want, and without question, it's non-negotiable. And then that's how you get a dog to be better with whatever it's afraid of. All right. All right. Cheers, Care Bear. Yeah, that's true. I definitely salute the person that reached out to me. Other trainers have. It's a tough thing for a trainer to admit that, they need help. Or it's tough for a trainer to continue to learn and educate. But she was very humble in saying that I'm not used to working with reactive dogs, and they dang sure didn't teach me how to how to work with reactive dogs in animal behavior college, and I thought that was just very weird. How can you teach dogs? Excuse me. How can you teach people how to teach dogs, but yet leave out a certain behavior, sort of category of dogs? And dogs that are reactive, what does that mean? Dogs that are reactive, what does that mean? So you're trying to say that if a dog, in my opinion, this is what my opinion is. A reactive dog is when a dog sees something and then starts to bark. That's a reaction. If you want to be more specific on what you work with, and this would have been more understandable, that you don't teach dogs that, or you don't teach people how to teach dogs that are aggressive and or bite. So it's much better to be specific on that, because reactive dogs, what dog doesn't bark when someone knocks on the door? Many are very few. What dog maybe doesn't get excited and barks when they see another dog on the leash? Very few, especially ones that haven't received training. So if you're saying that you're not working, if you're saying that this college does not work with reactive dogs, what kind of dogs you working with? Mute dogs, dogs that can't bark? I'm trying to understand it, but and so it's just frustrating that certain people have to go through animal behavior college. They just want to be a dog trainer. They go through animal behavior college, and then they come out not even being able to sustain their own business. So I question the validity of animal behavior college, which is an accredited college that teaches dog trainers, or teaches people how to become dog trainers. So maybe it's a crap, but so yeah. But again, this is what I also had to tell. This is what I wanted to also address with her, is that just because you go through animal behavior college and you weren't successful, I wanted to question whether or not you have just been consistent with the dog. Because again, there are people that aren't dog trainers, that know nothing about dog training, but have really awesome dogs. Why? It's because they decide to be consistent. Because they decide to say, when I say something, or when I'm enforcing a boundary, I'm enforcing a boundary. I'm not just enforcing it every other day. I'm enforcing it every day. And then the dog just understands that and doesn't try and cross the boundary. So there are people that know nothing about dog training that have really good dogs, simply because the dog believes the rules. The dog respects the boundaries. And that only comes with consistency. All right. Because like I said, if you are too hard on a dog, you will get bit. You will continue to get bit. It will be a bad relationship. If you are too lackadaisical with a dog, you'll still get bit, and it will speak to a poor relationship, or somebody else will get bit. So it's finding that balance on how to reinforce your boundaries, but yet being fair to the dog enough so that the dog is happy, likes being in existence with you. But so that's what everyone has to find out, and it's different for every dog and owner. But it all starts with the human. We all have to figure that out. The dog is just the dog, and the dog will accommodate to the lifestyle we enforce. All right. So if you have no boundaries, more times than not, the dog's going to be able to do whatever it wants. If you have way too many boundaries, then the dog's just going to be some fearful dog shaking in the corner, regretting and running away, something like that. So the magic is when you can find some fair and balanced boundaries. That makes a good lifestyle between both you and the dog. All right, if you're just joining in, my name is Jeremy Majors from Majors Academy Dog Training. This is Thirsty Thursdays, where I drink 2 beers and answer dog questions until I'm done drinking those 2 beers. And I'll answer your dog questions, dog training questions, and or if you have just something you want to talk about as far as dogs go, then I'm here for that too. So if you're just joining in and you got a question that you have a burning desire to ask, go ahead and ask it. Excuse me. Otherwise, I'm going to continue to talk about, cheers, Craig. I'm going to continue to talk about dogs. So I'll talk about the dogs that I'm training right now. I've got the perfect scenario. I'm only doing 2 because it's around the holidays, and I usually work with 3 dogs at a time. And but I'm only got 2 right now because it's around the holidays, and I want to make sure, in addition to all that holiday family time, that I spend enough time with these dogs. So I only got 2, and I've got, excuse me, another one coming after the New Year's. What? Oh, I got another question coming up. All right, so this page says, what's your take on dogs eating feces, both dog and cat feces? How would you correct that? I would first consult a vet and or examine the diet of the dog when it comes to eating poop. Sometimes it is because they're missing something in their diet. That's just what I've heard. I don't know it for sure. All right. But secondly, you just don't want your dog, in order to get your dog to realize that it can't eat poop, first and foremost, if you can, do a good job of picking your dog's poop up, right? Secondly, be present in order to teach your dog not to eat poop. Every time it even sniffs poop, it should be getting some sort of pressure from you, all right? Whether that's a verbal no, or hey, or a, or get away, or something like that. But you've got to be present in order for that to happen, okay? So spend time with your dog outside and watch your dog. And when it goes for the poop, definitely start with just verbal pressure, all right? If your dog decides to ignore your verbal pressure, that means you're not getting close enough. Stay close to your dog too, so that you may be able to remove the dog if it decides to go after its own poop. Sometimes it's habitual. Sometimes it's a learned behavior. I've seen dogs that are just obsessed with it. Hopefully that's not your dog, but none of the dogs that I've ever trained have been able to divulge in their poop, because I've always been there to correct them. All right, so try that. I'd start with that. Thank you for your question. All right, let me finish this. Now for the Holes Hacker Logger. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Holes Hacker. Okay. Bull Falls, Wisconsin. Wausau, Wisconsin. Bull Falls Brewery. That's good. All right, back to the dogs that I'm training. It's a great situation. The 2 dogs that I'm training very much so complement each other, and that often happens, which is awesome. I love it. But Vivian is a pit bull whippet mix that got attacked by a German Shepherd in the dog park, and ever since then the dog became fearful of bigger dogs, so much so that it's even fearful of the dog that it lives with. So if the other dog is trying to play too rough with Vivian, Vivian then starts to get snappy and aggressive and attempts to get the other dog to stop, right? So the reason why Jack, which is the American Bulldog, he's a big boy, 11 months and just big. He's a big boy. But you can see it on the video. If you go to my page, you can see him on the video I just posted today. But the reason why Jack is so great for this dog is because despite being huge And despite being a big puppy, he's a very gentle dog. Like he he really knows how to read Vivian and or just doesn't use his body. Because I think Vivian wouldn't like a dog that is sort of a physical player, because there are dogs that bump and run over and are very physical players. But then there are dogs that just kind of like to dart and jump around, and you'll see them when you see them two play, you'll know what I mean. But it's perfect for her because again, it's a big dog that's a gentle dog as far as, you know, the style of play. It's the perfect dog that has the perfect style of play. And that's what gets Vivian so excited about Jack. Vivian is excited about Jack. Vivian initiates, and then sometimes Jack even gets sick of her. Jack's like, all right, I've had enough of this. I don't want to play anymore. But Vivian wants to play even more. So it's cool that they complement each other because that's exactly what Vivian needed in order to open up her mind to being that spunky, you know, dog that she used to be, that her owner spoke of. So check that video out. Watch her run around and do that kind of stuff. It's awesome. All right, folks. Anybody who watching just joined in, if you guys have questions and or topics that you want to talk about, please feel free to chime in. I was talking about Animal Behavior College. If anyone has any experience in it, please chime in. Or if anyone has ever even heard of it, it's ABC. They certify you through the ADPT, which is the Animal Pet Dog Trainer Association. So if anybody has heard of it and has any experience with it, please feel free to share. We're not here to judge. We just want to learn about that place. All right? Because there's tons of people that go there. And, you know, in my opinion, those trainers could do a lot better as far as knowing how to run their business and working with specific dogs. But even vets, you know, or even there's just a lot of trainers that decide who they're going to work with as far as dogs go. And I think that's a little unfair. I think every dog should be able to have the opportunity to work with. Now, if you're skeptical about people that you work with, that's I think that can be something that can be validated. But if you're just screening dogs based on their behavior, then I think everyone should learn if you call yourself a dog trainer, you should learn how to deal with all kinds of temperaments of dogs, because the perfect puppy could end up being an aggressive dog when it gets older. It just depends on the environment. So it's not more so even learning about the different behaviors of the dog, more so than it's learning about how to change these dog owners' environment so that the dog adapts to an environment with structure. All right, got another question. So, will you have the family bring their other dog to socialize with her at your place? What do you mean by that? So, will you have the family bring their other dog to socialize? Yes, I will. Yes, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. We've already kind of spoke about that with, I've already spoke with that with a client. So at the end of the training, they're going to bring their old dog, their family dog in to help socialize. I'm going to teach the owners how to take pressure off of Vivian, because that's what I think, again, she needs. She needs someone to step in when the dog may become too pushy. You know, it's a difficult situation because if the dog lives with the other dog and has lived with the other dog, you would think that would be the dog she would be most comfortable with. But the reason why she opened up so quickly here is because I know how to take the pressure off, or when it's getting too much. I just know how to be there when my dogs decide to get too rough, pushy, and I know how to intervene. And doing that again helps create an environment where the dog can open up and be herself and run around and do the zoomies and do all that good stuff. Hold on, take a sip. So, I hope that answers your question. All right, 12-week boxer beagle. We started leash training. If a loud truck or bicycle would go by, she startles and barks and cowers to me. Do I sit and stay her? I wouldn't say sit and stay her. I would say keep it moving. I would say continue to walk. Try that. Because when you sit and stay, you may be inadvertently building an association. This is something that the purely positive trainers really throw around a lot. Association, building an association. All right, so I don't know if I would agree with a lot of the things, but one of the things I could definitely agree on is when you sit your dog only amongst the things that make the dog fearful, the dog just decides to associate sitting with something that's coming that's fearful. So what I would do to sort of break through that was to do something that you do anyway and sort of portray indifference to the things that scare her, which is walking. You do that anyway. You don't just do that when things are fearful. So if you walk, yep, say no, come, and continue to walk. Absolutely. And that's all you have to say on the walk. You don't have to even say or tell her good girl or any of that. I'm stingy when it comes to praise, especially so many people come to me and they overpraise their dog. All right, talking too much. You're talking too much to your dog, especially when you want the dog to behave, or you want your dog to not react. Do more non-verbal actions and do less verbal talking, because we talk to them when we praise them, which sort of means I can do what I want. So when you're walking your dog, say no and say come and just continue to walk. Okay, because you're teaching the dog. Once the dog, maybe proves himself to be to not react, maybe 3 or 4 times, then you can praise the dog. But then I get into how to praise the dog. That's very important too. How much do you give in order to keep the dog obedient or humble before the dog says, all right, I get to do what I want now? For example, if I'm teaching my dog to go lay down on the bed, especially a new dog, and I go over there and pet him, 9 times out of 10, the dog's going to get up because he thinks it's party time again. So sometimes I just got to say, good boy. And even sometimes for some dogs, that's too much in the beginning, right? Like that puppy down there, Jack. If I were to say good boy to him while I'm first teaching him, he'd just get up and think it would be time to get excited again. So very important to learn how to, with each and individual dog, learn what works for them based on their temperament. If you have an excitable dog, then you really want to dish out your praise very selectively. It'll make the recall awesome. I mean, if you have an excitable dog and you only recall that dog, or you only use it while you're off leash, dog's gonna come because it loves praise. So selectively use your praise to your advantage. That's what you use. That's the biggest resource. No treats can trump that. No amount of treats, no amount of toys, no amount of bones can trump a dog's. Most dogs need to be felt, to be petted for that butt belly scratch. All right. Whoa. almost blocked you. All right. Anybody who just joined in, please feel free to answer your or ask a question, chime in on the conversation, chime in on the topic. Because we're going to be here for another 15 minutes. Yeah. Also, what's more important is to understand again that what you do, because the mainstream media, and I get people all the time that have honestly tried with their dog over and over and over again. Listen, guys, hopefully I'll be working with this dog that is obsessed with his foot. Like, I mean, this is like compulsive. Like, if it gets bored, it decides to chew on it till it turns red. And then it does the spins. Really, really, really heavy in this obsessive behavior. Hopefully I get to work with this dog because he's been checked out, cleared medically. There's nothing wrong with him neurologically. It's all behavior, it seems to be. So I'm really interested to see what my system would be able to, how it'd be able to help this dog. Very obsessive over his left paw. I worked with him. I did a consult with these people this week on Monday, and I'm super excited to work with this dog. I want to get in this dog's head and see what's up. All right, we got another question. Since Dozer has been back home, we have not let the dogs play together outside as they did before. They do play well outside. We disagree on if they're ready to play since Daisy is slightly crazy. And we've tried to keep Dozer in check. Is a small play period okay before she comes to you for training? I don't think I've ever said you guys should not have them play outside. What do you mean by Daisy getting slightly crazy? Because I don't want them to play inside. Especially if, they're door charging and there should be just a lot of structure in the house. But if they're outside and they're doing what they want and everyone's safe and it's fair play, then I would say let them go crazy outside, but not inside. So what do you mean? Tell me. Whew. I almost got a little emotional. I watched this show called The Last Alaskans, and there's this guy on there named Bill. You can tell he's from New York. There's this guy on there named Bill who has this husky. First and foremost, good Lord, what a paradise for dogs. Man, I envy their lifestyle, although I don't really know about it because I've never even, I never even hunted before. But I think it's awesome, But this dog had to, thank you, appreciate it. But this dog, the Bill has a daughter that is a little slow, and found out that the husky that Bill raised did very well with the daughter, and was kind of protecting the daughter. And Bill had to give this, and Bill decided to give the daughter, the dog to the daughter. The daughter does not live with Bill. The daughter lives back in a city in Alaska. So they fly out, and he gives this dog away, and it just tore me up inside because he was just like, there's no better companion. There's no better dog. That dog is the absolute best. I mean, he was just tore up inside. And I was just like, man, this is killing me right now. but he was wanting to do right by his daughter and send the dog home with the daughter. But here he was, he's alone. So if you haven't watched this show, these people are called the Last Alaskans. He lives in a house that is isolated by about 3,000 miles or some crap like that. There's no one, there's no stores, there's no nothing, there's that he has to actually get up and go hunt every day in order to eat. But he had his dog with him who would find squirrels way quicker than he would. And he had raised this dog, because I watched the show before, the season before. He had raised this dog, and became really close with this husky, man. Beautiful freaking dog. And he decided to give it up to his daughter, because he's starting to get a little sick himself. He's an older guy. But anyway, damn, it was tough, man. I don't know if I could have done it. Holy smokes. Woo! So, what's up, EJ? All right, she jumps on him, steals his toys, but they have never had an issue just in time. Well, listen, again, if it's not an issue that the dogs play outside, let them do what they want. If it's not, it doesn't result in anyone getting hurt. And if they're just playing, let them do what they want. You know what I mean? That's good stuff to let them play. And then you don't have to deal with their inside energy if you let them go crazy outside. All right. Thanks for your question, Cam. We do have an e-collar for her, and they both wear them outside so they can play off leash under my super. There you go. Yeah, that's it. And if Daisy gets unfair and you don't want her to do something, then you can correct with the e-collar. 100%. Yep. That is just fine. Thank you. Please do me a favor, folks. Any of you guys that are watching, please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button if there is one, and or share it if you thought it was valuable. Also, if you guys have any last questions, go ahead and type them now, because we're getting ready to end this thing, and you won't see me till next week for a live discussion. Oh, look at all of them. They gotta keep them coming. Here we go. Keep them coming. Yeah, we'll be back next week. It's going to be episode 18. And we're going to be talking about... Oh, I don't know what we're going to be talking about. I always wait till the week. Maybe I have a good conversation with someone. Maybe I talk to a trainer. But I always wait until the week of, or even the day of, to pick the topic. So, all right, you guys. I sure appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found it valuable. We'll be here next week. Please come back and let's have a conversation. All right. Thank you guys for watching. See you next time.